Come on, grow up. What are we talking about? Grow up. Stop fucking bitching with each other. Who am I bitching at? She up.
You know, the American soldier has a unique place in this history of ours in this country. Obviously, we would not be here doing what we do today if it wasn't for the American soldier. But we as a people, you know, really have short memories. You know, we herald that patriot, that warrior, that soldier when we need him. And it becomes the most important thing in our lives when there's a war that needs to be fought. When you come back and they come home and we're finally out of Iraq or Afghanistan, what happens to the care? What happens to the needs? What happens to their stories for the time that they had sacrificed? And so what we're trying to get across here are those stories.
My name is Sergeant Jeremy W. Feldbush. I serve with 3rd Battalion of the 75th Ranger Regiment. While on the Haditha hydroelectric dam in 2003, artillery rounds were being fired in from the Iraqis, which started on April the 1st. And on the afternoon of April the 3rd, while we were at our position on the dam, artillery rounds landed about 10 meters away, which is about 30 feet, and which was more than close enough where I lost my right eye and suffered a penetrating injury to my frontal lobes. The piece of shrapnel I lost where it went through my skull here, and I'm sure the scar is quite apparent, took out my right eye and went at an upward angle into my frontal lobes and actually hit the top portion of my skull and came back down in the frontal section and the frontal lobes and actually got lodged in there. We had our combat search and rescue in the air fly in, evacuate me, and move me out while the artillery fire was still going on. Even though I still told my platoon sergeant, who was there with the 9 of us, that I still wanted to continue with the battle, and he told me, "You've got another battle to fight, son."
When you think about combat, when you think about what soldiers go through, and when you think about the fact that you know, people are injured, people die, it's a bond that will stay forever. Another strong reason why I'm really involved in this project, because of that. Because of stories that need to be told to the American public so that they understand what an individual goes through, what a warrior goes through, what a family goes through, and ultimately what a community goes through when you talk about combat and when you talk about sacrifice and when you talk about coming back without limbs or arms, concussions, without eyes, and how it affects that community.
Not only was Jeremy injured, the whole family is injured. I'm Jeremy's mother, and also I'm his full-time caregiver. Jeremy's traumatic brain injury, more so than his blindness, requires my and my husband's care 24/7. When we first got the phone call, back almost 6 years ago, my life changed. And I had to quit my job, and I stay home now and take care of Jeremy 24/7. His brain injury, where it penetrated the front lobes, causes him to be tired. He lives in darkness and blackness every day. That causes him to be tired. So for Jeremy to stay at home and to take care of himself 24 hours, that's just not a probability. His surgeon told us that he would have to have assisted living for the rest of his life. So there's a lot of ups and downs. You get knocked off the ladder and you have to climb back up. And the whole family's involved. It's not just that injured service person.
You know, in times like these, we don't need to look up to people who have a sense of entitlement. We need to look up to people who have worked hard, overcome obstacles, people who have sacrificed and are inspirational. role models for our next generation, role models like these wounded warriors.
Wounded Warrior Project goes to the bed of the injured service member as soon as they get back to the States. We're there not only for the service member, we're there for their family. We want to give them the tools to empower them to go out into the world and be productive again. And we continue to grow every day. We need to get the word out. We need the manpower behind it. And we need the people's support all across the country.
They were key to getting me back to who I am today. Being able to be up and walk around and focus on everyday life, even with the injuries that I've sustained. I'm proof that you can survive a traumatic brain injury, even a penetrating traumatic brain injury, and strive forward not only for yourself but for others as well. You know, the traumatic brain injury, a closed or a penetrating like mine, is, you know, the signature injury of this conflict. And we have the ability to take care of it. The doors are there to be open. We have the technology. We just have to get it out to our service members. You know, no doors are closed to anybody because new advancements are being made every single day.
I'm Dr. Rory Cooper, and I'm the director of the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, which is a VA Rehabilitation Research and Development Center. One of our goals here at the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, HURL, is to use advanced engineering science and clinical science to improve the mobility and function of veterans and eventually all people with disabilities. When I was in the Army, I was an armorer and then later a civil affairs specialist. But one of the fortunate things for me is I became a pretty good runner and made it onto the U.S. Army track and cross-country team. But that led me to, when I had my spinal cord injury, to search an outlet for my athletic interests and abilities. I'd already started building my own chairs. I thought, I could run again, I could race, I could do 10Ks again, and started building my own chair. It's really, necessity is the mother of invention. At first it was, you rode it every day and then you raced it. It was kind of, they went hand in hand. As time went on, me and other athletes, we sort of built our own chairs and diverged where racing chair became a unique chair, and we could get faster and faster. A friend of mine, Colonel Paul Pasquina, developed this title or concept of the tactical athlete, and it fits just so well with the military. That's essentially what you are. You are an athlete. Everybody runs, everybody works out, and your life is on the line, and your buddy's life is on the line, and that's why it's an athletic competition at an entirely different level. We have abilities, and it's and we can accomplish a lot, and do accomplish a lot. I mean, veterans often lead the way.
As I said before, the American people have short memories. They forget and they forgive. But one of the things that we can't allow to happen is for people to forget. People need to remember what had taken place. People need to remember the sacrifices that have been presented by our American soldiers, by those individuals who live in our community, who have sacrificed their time, some of their lives, and sometimes part of their bodies. That's why we're doing this film and this documentary, and ultimately the Veterans Challenge, so that people remember what had taken place, and so there's some dignity in their lives. And the only way that that can continue is that if you don't forget, and if we can demand your support, because these people have paid a sacrifice and they've paid a price, and we can't allow them to flounder by themselves.